training, and then eventually it's like,
we're really professional at this.
I love computers. They're going to simplify our lives, I've been told. So
one day.
Yeah, one day. So I do see that this is actually streaming live right now. So I just want to thank Vivian Vian for coming in, talking to me today about the Comox Valley Community Resilience Month. Mm-hmm. And Vivian, do you want to just maybe give me a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the month?
So my name is Vivian, and I'm, a village maker here in the Comox Valley. I've lived here for 10 years now, and have my fingers in all kinds of different pies. One of the places that I've spent most of my time is working around youth, and I'm a part of this group called Children and Youth Matter Comox Valley. We've been meeting. They were meeting before me for a very, very, very long time, like I think 7 years, and I started meeting with them about 3 years ago, and the work is really about figuring out where the cracks are and how do we stop people from going through the cracks, and what can we do for our kids and our youth now to give them the most positive outcomes later on in life. So that group's been meeting on the third Thursday since forever. It's my favorite meeting. We hit COVID. We went into Zoom meetings so beautifully. And two things that we've wanted to do. One was attract a foundry to the Comox Valley, which is an integrated youth program here. It's opening actually in May. And the other one was to try to have the Valley as a whole move to a trauma-informed practice lens. And so what does that mean? Like, we're saying a big word there. We have a person with lived experience who's kind of our inspiration. Her name is Susie Venuta. You should interview Susie, actually. She's really cool.
Excellent.
And she basically said, as a person with lived experience, that if people just understood where she was coming from and what's going on for her, that goes 1,000 miles. It's not an excuse, it's an explanation. And having people understand that people are made up of their prior experiences, and stress is impacting us physiologically, and we're maybe behaving different or not remembering things as well as we could, and all of these things. If we just could move to that lens, what a more compassionate valley we would live in. So we decided we would spread the word, and we wanted to do something around trauma and building resilience, and what that looks like in COVID, rather than trying to cram everybody into a weekend and doing a conference, was what if we spread it out and did a bunch of smaller events throughout a month. And so we ended up with an entire month where there are public events, which you and I are going to talk about, and there are also going to be industry-specific trainings happening for different people, first responders, nurses, things like that. There, did that sum it up? I don't think that was a very good summary. That was like a meander.
Oh, no. It's all good. I mean, we're here. We are just doing a live little thing here, so don't stress about it at all. No, I think that really does explain it well, and I know there's a lot going on in the Comox Valley, and it's great to see these kind of partnerships coming together, and the opportunities in my mind that happen when those kind of things happen. And that's why when you sent me the information, and I was like, oh, I'd be happy to chat. And then I was like, oh, we should do this interview thing, because I think it is something that's critical for the rest of our community to be aware of. So
I mean, if you think about it, Bob, right now, like, yeah, we've all had stress, and a little bit of stress is good for us. But in COVID, is there a single person in the Valley who has not been under more stress than normal for the last 2 years? And what that does is that turns into toxic stress, when you are constantly uncertain, and you are constantly not sure, and you're constantly having to change the rules of your routine. That actually impacts us in a physiological way that, more and more people are saying, like, man, do I have ADHD? Or, man, like, I'm really bad at my job all of a sudden. Man, I'm not sleeping right. And all of those things we can take very personally, and we can take as a moral defect. I think we're like trained to do that, right? Like, what's wrong with you? No, not what's wrong with us. What's happening to us? What is physiologically going on in our bodies now that is maybe different than what it used to be? And it impacts so many different, like, I get to be the one to sit here and talk with you about it, but there are, at least off the top of my head, I'm doing thank you cards right now. I have 26 different organizations involved with the different events over May. Which is massive, all over Zoom, all collaborated over Zoom to make this month happen, with Omicron hanging over everybody's head.
Right. Yeah. And I think, talking from my own perspective, I've been sort of thrust most of my life into sort of leadership positions, whether it be owners of companies or leaders of departments. And I mean, going right back to high school, I had 2 companies in high school. I was managing a couple of teams at jobs that I had, because I had part-time jobs as well. And I think there is that sort of, for someone like myself, to be aware that, like, I'm, frankly, a bit of a workaholic. I'm always busy. I do gravitate to either high stress situations or ones where there is absolutely no safety net. And so generally that means being part of something that's never happened before. Launching the internet for Shaw Cable would be a great example, where there was no manual for it. There were certainly people who had gone to university in computer science and stuff like that, but to actually troubleshoot things in real time and be able to visualize very complex and large systems, it's just something that I enjoyed. Now, to be fair, I also have naps pretty much every day, and that helps me. And I'm happy to talk about it. I'm not shy about it. Not very many adults have naps, or at least don't talk about it.
I do, and I am an open napper.
Yeah.
And I am better when I take time to be off. And it can look like, maybe it looks like I'm laying in bed and I'm sleeping, but actually what I'm doing is I'm taking every conversation I had that morning and all of the different things, and I'm reorganizing it in my brain. And if I'm not laying in bed with my eyes closed to do that, do you know what's going to happen? I'm still distracted. I'm still pinging things, and I'm filling my brain to overwhelm.
Yeah.
And that downtime for me looks like a nap. For somebody else, it could be, like, some people it's a walk, but that downtime, that's super important. So yeah, have at her, Bob, have a nap.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and not only that, but, when we look at the pandemic and how, there's obviously the stress of owning a company, being the leader as mayor of our city, and how that would do it. But, I started having meetings with our medical health officer in early February. And of course, the pandemic happened on the magic Friday the 13th in March, a day before my twins' birthday. So we're, had to cancel their birthday parties, which obviously caused extra stress. But what happened to me is that I thought things would slow down, but actually both of my worlds got much busier. Plus, my kids weren't going to school, so my home life was busier. The city was busier. My business certainly was busier, and so there were certainly days of exhaustion where it was just like I was always busy. But if something major canceled and I had like half a day where I didn't have to do anything, it was like, all right, I'm going down for a nap, because there's no way to sustain it otherwise. And that's why actually, even looking at running the business and leading the city long term, it was like, the healthiest thing for me to do is to actually look to sell the company, which I was able to do last fall. And really just certainly focus on the city, but really focus on my family and myself, and make sure that we're, as healthy as we can be. Because it can look, especially when you're just seeing the world through Facebook photos and stuff, like everybody's having the best time and everything's perfect and all those kinds of things, when in reality that's not how it is, for sure. But let's maybe talk about some of the specific events that you have going on. And I'm gonna throw this in. So I've already
there we go.
put this. I'm gonna see if it's gonna let me put it over here. Oh, there we go. Hey, first try. Wow, that was pretty exciting. And in fact, if I do this and
I guess I'm here now, but Bob's still not here.
no, I just muted I just turned myself off.
Yeah, I couldn't hear you. Could you hear me?
Oh, you couldn't hear me. Oh, you know what? Maybe when I hit myself, I turned my mic off too.
Yeah, no, I think one of us has to be here. But now we can't hear you, Bob. Bob, I'm just going to call
All right,
you.
I'm back.
Yeah, are you back? Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just going to call you on my Facebook Messenger to be like,
I got it figured out. I just turned off the video. Can you still hear me?
there we go. Yeah,
Look at
yeah,
that.
I can hear
See?
you. Yeah.
I'm learning as we
on the
go.
stream.
I'm telling you.
Awesome.
So I'll let you talk about
Okay.
everything that's on the page here.
Okay, so the first one up there is the Story Walk. Now that is for families. It's at Puntledge Park, and it is by the Lifelong Learning Center. Now they've been doing story walks through all of the pandemic as just a way to get people an opportunity to do a little bit of literacy and get out of the house and read nice stories. And the story we picked for this was The Invisible String. And so that's at Puntledge, and it's going to stay there until Sunday. And on Sunday, it's going to move to another location, which I'll talk about down there, the green one. But first, we're going to talk about the yellow one, and we're going to talk about uncertainty and pandemics and stress of doing things new. So this is JD Ludlow. He is becoming very well known. He drives the bus, one of the BC Transit buses. He wears his Pathfinder, and he celebrates May 5th as the day that he came out of what he calls a crippling depression. And that day, last year, he invited people to come and make flower necklaces. And this year, he's a spokesperson. He'll be speaking at one of our events, and he said, can I have my event be a part of the resilience campaign? So we're going to do that down at the marina. And here's the part I was telling you. JD may be positive for COVID right now, and we are working out whether or not JD is allowed to be at his own event, and I'll keep you posted about that. People will be down there and something will be happening, but it might not look the way we thought it was going to look because COVID. So that's that one, and then we could go on to May 7th, which is the coming Saturday. And this one here is the only graphic that doesn't look like the others because we figured out there was so much going on at this event that we needed to give people a little bit more information. This is the Community Connections Day. This is a whole bunch of workshops and drop-in activities. We have asked people to register so that we know how many people we have that want to go to the 2 different parenting workshops that we have. We have a medicine wheel workshop with Daryl Mills. It's a beautiful Indigenous workshop that we're excited to present. Comox Youth Council is going to be running a brain architecture game, which teaches you about toxic stress and your brain using straws and pipe cleaners. So that's going to be a really fun one. We're doing some yoga. I said lunch is free. That free lunch, all of the different people, there's going to be different service providers and experts who are joining us that day, and they're just going to be available for different conversations. And we're just going to, yeah, that's that event. That's a big one. And that's the Lake Trail Community Education. Like you see the logo in the bottom there. This is, I have to say, like the biggest shout out to Anna Rambo for this event, because she, in all of the uncertainty, has just been this ray of light of knowing what is reasonable to expect us to have and get done, and has kept this really optimistic view on everything, and has been so inclusive of all the different partners who want to be involved. So that's going to be a great day.
Awesome. And yeah, Anna's just such an amazing person. I feel really fortunate because I've been able to work with a bunch of these people over the years. And so, so absolutely amazing.
I just want to say that, like, do you feel like, I feel like I got here 10 years ago at this like really key moment. And I feel like I really involved and I know people, and it still feels like a small town. And I wonder for the people who are moving here now, if that's the way that they experience the Valley, and if that's not how they're experiencing the Valley, just like a real invitation to come out to these things and get involved with the chamber, get involved with LIFT, get involved with whatever is your fancy, Transition Society, and you would just be met with such open, welcome arms. Mm-hmm. And it is really, truly an honor to live in a valley with so many amazing people.
Yeah, and so many cool events as well, I got to say, and I don't want to stray too far off the list of events that you're talking about, but there's so many amazing things that happen in this valley. And one of the things that happened for me when I first arrived is I had gone on youth exchange as a kid off to South Africa on Rotary Youth Exchange, and in fact you'll probably see some South African things behind me here, and it's a big part of my my identity and my life, and an amazing experience. And so I got involved to help with youth exchange and to host students and that kind of thing, and then Chip Ross, who was the person who invited me to the first meeting, said, no, you got to become a Rotarian. And I was like, I'm in my 20s, maybe when I'm older. But I saw what they were doing, and it was just so amazing, whether it's, playgrounds locally and other things. And from there, I got involved in the Comox Valley Youth Music Center, and just, it kind of snowballed. And as a family, a Yana family, when we had our twins and we're out of town, Yana got involved, the Child Development Society, the arts community is amazing with Music Fest and things that are going on in Cumberland. There's the Atmosphere events that were happening. Yeah, so there's so many things that I can't imagine being other places. And I've lived in big cities, Vancouver, Victoria, and I know, my friends who still live there are like, wow, it's so much vibrant and things are kind of sleepy here. And for me, it's like, well, there's certainly I get to go for walks, go for a kayak and relax a bit, but there's just so much going on in a variety of things that, yesterday we had the 40th annual, what do you call it? This Royal LePage Snow to Surf. 150 odd teams of 8 people per team, right from Mount Washington down. And the day before that was the 30th anniversary of our farmers market, right? And so, yeah, I mean, just crazy stuff. But if you want to get back to the list, I know.
Yeah, okay, let's go back to the list, and then we can chat a little bit about how lucky we are. Okay. We should change it from the Comox Valley. We should just call it the Lucky Valley. But I don't know if I'm like, can you make a decree about that, Bob? And
a proclamation is what we call them.
Lucky Glacier Valley. Okay, yeah. So where are we here? So we talked about Community Connections Day, right?
Yeah.
And so there, I wanted to say, because the next event we're going to talk about is at Courtney L, and it is a parenting workshop around making sense of your children's emotions. Mm-hmm. And that one filled up in 2 days, and then we opened up more spots to it. And what I learned about that was like, oh, people really do want some of this parent support. What I would say is that the Lake Trail event has 2 other workshops at it. They're just embedded in the rest of it, the rest of the day. So if this supporting children's emotions fills up and somebody wanted to do something on a parenting workshop, very similar mindset to this workshop, will be the Touch Points workshop, and we're doing a Joy Within parenting workshop on May 7th as well. So that's 3 parenting workshops that are happening. And excellent. So I'm not sure where registration is for this right now, but there is free childcare as well.
Awesome.
What's next? Where are we now here?
Next one, if we scroll down here,
the film screening, which you're going to come to, right, Bob?
We shall see. Wednesday the 18th.
It's the 18th. It's at NIC at Stanhagen Theatre.
Yeah.
And it is actually the documentary that kind of started the whole group of people that are at Children and Youth Matter Comox Valley in the direction of knowing we needed a foundry and knowing we needed to have integrated care for our families. And so we're screening this again. We're going to watch this film. We have room for 200 bums. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the studies and the science behind this whole idea that like toxic stress is impacting our physiology and how it actually impacts us over the rest of our life, not just from a mental health perspective, but also from a physical health perspective. So right. All of this toxic stress that we have been under and that people are under for all of the other reasons actually increases our chances to have diabetes and heart problems and all of this other stuff down the road. So if we can mitigate this stress through community connections and all of the very simple answers in advance, it's actually going to save us money in the long run.
Yeah.
And people are like, save us money? How? Well, think about it. If people are not getting these chronic diseases later on in life and not needing to rely on preventative care down the way, that saves us healthcare dollars.
Yeah.
So that's what I just like really there's the tagline for the movie. No one needs to go anymore. Please come anyways. And there's going to be a panel. We have a panel of experts that are going to be there to answer questions and talk a little bit about how this is already at play in the Valley and where the resources already are for families to tap into when they're just in need of that support.
Fair enough. And
the next one is an overdose response workshop. And that's big, scary stuff. Except that it would be even scarier if you were on one of your lovely walks and you bumped into somebody who was in that state of overdose and you didn't know what to do. And so
Right.
this is a free workshop. You leave with a take-home kit. You learn all about the stigma and the situation that is happening here, not in our big city over there, here in our valley, and how we can, as a community, overcome that. So this
Awesome.
is definitely not going to be the funnest day, but I think it's still going to be fun, and it's going to be a really rich workshop.
Yeah. Well, and I think that that's the thing is that I think one of the things for me, and again, whether it's running a business or running a city, is that there are some really hard decisions you have to do. There's some really difficult things that you have to do. But as much as it's possible, my philosophy and in fact, kind of what I run my life on is trying to have fun while getting things done. And so, even if it's stuff that's not that much fun or it's very serious and all that kind of stuff, is to really look to see how you can make it as joyful as possible.
Yeah. Because it can
and
be scary. The idea of the fact that somebody could have a drug overdose could be scary. But if you're prepared for it and you've had a chance to reframe a little bit and understand a little bit about what's going on, then maybe now you can save future you a whole bunch of stress.
Absolutely.
Right.
All right, and that's that one. So I'll
Okay.
move on to the next one. So that was the overdose one. Give me 1 second. All right, here we
Okay.
go.
So now between that, like the first one we talked about and this one, there will have been a whole bunch of trainings which have already been filled with very specific service providers.
Right.
This is Jonathan Kerr is going to host this one, and the Community Health Network is involved. And there are going to be tables with all the various partners who are doing different things in the community that you can get involved in or access as services for yourself and your family. And we're going to have speakers. And this is my very most exciting part. Oh, I'm going to be really sad because I don't know who the third speaker is and I'm live and I can't. Okay, well, this is me not knowing everything. But JD Ludlow, the fireman, is speaking, and Susie Venuta, who is she's the inspiration for this entire campaign. When everything gets hard and like a rule changes with COVID and I'm like, I don't even know how I'm going to do this, or I can't get into one of my Zoom meetings with the collaborators. I just think Susie laid out this incredible vision of the idea of a trauma-informed valley where everybody could be more compassionate and everybody could get the compassion and the connection that they needed. And that goes through my head. So she's doing her TEDx talk for us.
Awesome.
And JD Ludlow is going to talk about him coming to the valley. And anybody who's ever been around the flat, like if you've seen the yellow Mustang driving around town right now, I think it's got a snowbird on it. Is that right?
Yeah, he just designed the snowbird to add to it. Absolutely.
Yeah. You couldn't find a nicer guy to get into a conversation with you if you ever see him around. Have a coffee with him and let him talk to you.
And I feel really lucky again because when I was in high school, I restored a 1971 Mustang, and so when I saw his Mustang, I started talking to him and this is a while ago, so. I didn't know that he was going to be what he is now, but it was great to talk with him, and we've continued that conversation. I've taken him out for lunch, and as he's done things, he invites me, which is always good. My schedule is a little discombobulated a lot, but just to see what's going on, and I'm a big supporter of the snowbirds, and in fact, I'll be meeting with them tomorrow, which is always exciting. I get to meet with them generally when they come to town. And when I first moved here, I started working actually with kids at risk, and one of the focal events was taking them to meet the snowbirds. Again, I go back to none of this was scripted. It wasn't planned out. It's just sort of randomly, just my mind, just trying to make the world a little better, however I can, and then I get to do some of these pretty awesome things. But sorry,
Bob, like what you just said there, I think that this is the thing is these are really big problems we're talking about. Like we're talking about substance issues. We're talking about toxic stress. We're talking about one thing that you'll talk about if you come to the film is adverse childhood experiences, and there's something called an ACE score, which gives you an idea of how many adverse childhood experiences a person has. And if they have over 5, I think it quadruples your chance of having these health problems later on. And these are really scary big things. But the answer is surprisingly simple. And by doing that, taking those kids and meeting the snowbirds, all it takes is one caring adult to truly connect with you and show you that you can be the things you want to be and show you your potential and hold space and confidence for the good that you can have in your life, that reverses so much of it.
Yeah.
And that's the community connections part. And I think that's the damage that COVID has done, is so many of those clubs and groups either had to shut down or go on Zoom, which was hard for a lot of families, and they couldn't connect anymore. Like my 10 club is a perfect example that went by the way despite all of the best efforts. And those kids, they lost that place where they could walk in, that wasn't their school, that wasn't their home, that they could walk in and be met with true joy. We were so excited to see every one of them when they walked in the door, and we had our pizza routines and we had all of those things. And that can change an entire lifetime for a kid.
Yeah. And in another conversation, I can certainly talk to you about my youth and some of the challenges that I went through, which has kind of put me where I am right now. But before we do that, I believe the last one was
Okay, this is service provider. So here's the deal for this one. If you work with humans, you might want to come and check this workshop out. So this is it's for service providers, and it is two-hour Zoom calls that will go through the synopsis of something called the Touch Points parenting program, which is free and offered through the Child Development Association. And what we're looking to do here is not necessarily talk to the parents directly, but when somebody has a family that needs support, this is a place that you could actually be referring them. So a lot of service providers they're like, oh, I don't know very much about it. I'm not sure if this is going to be a good fit. This is an opportunity to find out what exactly is going on with this program, so that you know which families are a fit and you know how to refer into the program. Because this touch points is sort of this quiet revolution that's happening here in the Valley with service providers, as more and more people are introduced to the touch point system, it was invented by a pediatrician in Boston a very long time ago. And it was just this guy who was a pediatrician who, like, people in really, really stressful situations would ask for him by name. And he was just a really, really beloved. And so they studied him for a number of years to go, like, what is it that you're doing that's different from other pediatricians that make you so inviting for people? And they turned it into I'm probably touch points is probably like, don't talk about touch points, you're ruining it. But basically it's a series of guiding beliefs and principles that you come at your practice with. And it's also good for parents, because there's the guiding principles for parents to come at their children with. And it is the most joyful, compassionate, simple, giving, confidence building program I've ever seen. I've had the deep privilege of doing the 3-day training, the full 3-day training, and it just changing our systems to something like this, just looking at our children through this lens, looking at ourselves as parents through this lens. I think it's radical and revolutionary and also simple, and we all know it to be a truth in our heart already. Mm-hmm. So that would be this one. And they will be running the Touchpoints parenting program in September, but they're doing a parents workshop at that Lake Trail event on May 7th as well.
Fantastic. Well, I sort of said that I had a little meeting to get to. I got to go give a speech, I think, at 12 o'clock today. And so I do just want to thank you so much, Vivian. But before I let you go, you had asked me about my last name. And so most people know me as Bob Wells because that's what everything says. But throughout my life, I've sort of gone by different last names. And so my mom's last name, maiden last name was Lemajurier or Lemajor. And so when you look at my Facebook page, it actually has that on there. But when my wife and I got married, her last name was Wells. Mine was Lemajurier. And I was like, yours is so much easier than mine. And and I've got a big family. She was an only child. And so we said, you know what? Yeah, cool. I'll take her last name. So, and then, because I only say your name, Vivian, and then it was just so I'm pronouncing it correctly, and other people know.
It's funny because my name looks beautiful. It looks beautiful, Vivian Vaillant, and it's like the movie star name.
Yeah.
but nobody can pronounce it. So
Yeah.
we've talked a little bit about that, like, oh, maybe we should have kept Blacklock, which would never have happened. But everybody wants my last name to be Valiant. They want the I to be on the other side. And
Right.
I'm pretty sure when his business partner introduced me to Paul, who is my husband now, I'm pretty sure his business partner introduced me to him as Paul Valiant. So, I mean, that's cool too, but as long as you don't call me late for dinner. And the best thing about having a hard to pronounce last name is when telephone marketers call and go, is Vivian, is the lady of the house there? I just know it's a telephone marketer. So it stays it easy. And everybody else is like, Valent works.
Yeah,
Vion,
exactly.
Vivian V.
Absolutely. Like you said, just don't call me late for dinner. I mean, my first name's Bob, so I usually just tell people, as long as you only use one O, I'm a happy camper. And
yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So,
Too.
but I think, having a good sense of humor, and doing the little bits that we can to make our communities better. And again, I wish we could see each other more often and talk more often, but I have to thank you so much for taking the time today. I apologize that I have to race off.
No worries. Can you just do me a favor? Can you tell Michelle I am coming in to have my teeth cleaned? I'm really with COVID and everything, it's just been, but it's happening. It's going to happen.
Fair enough. Well, if she's watching my
Sorry, Michelle, I'm coming.
Then,
I'm flossing too. I floss. I got a water pick. She'll love that.
All right. Any last words before we go?
I just thank you. Thank you for taking the time to do this, and thank you for your support. And thank you to all of the partners. As I was going through and trying to get through the information, I was like, I'm not naming the different partners. So I might give you a list of that, because it is tremendous how many people have been involved in this in so many different ways. And I just get to be the one who connects the dots. But when I get to list them off like this and see what we pulled together in COVID with the uncertainty of everything that is everything, this is a first year campaign, going back to what you like to do and, things that are new and different. I'm deeply humbled and honored to have been able to work on this.
Awesome. And that's the beauty of Facebook. You'll be able to go in and add links to things and do anything you want. And if I've misspelt anything, let me know.
Yeah, sure.
I think I did just copy and paste things off of your page. So, again, thanks so much for your time today. I hope everybody has a great day and checks out all these events that are going on throughout the month. Again, resilience is such a major thing as we come out of the pandemic, and the focus on youth, but really tools for parents to have as well, so that we can help interact as best as possible with our children. So again, thanks so much, Vivian.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.